Yeah, in that auction draft, someone paid $37 for Derrick Henry.
I mean, he's an RB1, I think.
Well, I freaked out because I pressed bid.
I remember
just
that
trying
shit.
to drive the price up, and it was at 35.
Nobody obeyed you.
And I was like, oh my god. I was like, shit, no. And then
You guys
someone
don't realize how good he is.
And someone finally just did it. Like someone was waiting it out to the 3-second mark, hit it, and it goes back to 8 seconds. I was like, oh my god, thank God.
That's the only thing I haven't done is an auction draft.
I'm gonna do it again just to because I actually know how to do it better now. Because I finished off like $38 remaining. I'm like, okay, I could have gotten like one more really good player.
So
with
do
that.
you use that on free agency then, or?
I don't.
Or you just
know,
lose
actually.
it if you don't use it.
I think you lose it completely. So
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Analytically Correct. Got it.
Yeah.
Bingo. Over here with Dan, Rob, Stretch. We're over here at Public House on University with Shamrock Liquors. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to do our second part of NFL breakdown, more structured thing than we usually do. We're going to be talking NFC East, AFC East, the ACC, and then a little bit of baseball trade deadline. I know we don't really have to pay attention to it because Rob already told us who's going to win the World Series, which is the Yankees. So we're not really paying attention to that anymore. But we'll get into it a little bit. We're going to start off with, I think Dan's a Cowboys fan, so we're going to probably wind up doing a lot of NFC East talk, the whole Zeke and Dak thing, who's paying who. So we'll get the AFC East out of the way. When I was looking at this, it was pretty much how do we make this interesting, talking about a division that we all know who's going to win, which is, I mean, is anyone picking anybody except the Patriots?
No.
It's not even close.
Yeah. So the question, and you had an interesting thing about the AFC East, which is the second-year quarterbacks and Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, and the quarterback controversy, like the most boring one of all time is Fitzpatrick and Rosen. Who's going to win that whole battle? But the question that I thought to try somewhat to make this interesting is, and I asked Dan earlier, if you took Tom Brady off the Patriots and put him on any of the other three teams, would any of them win the division, or would it still be the Patriots with Brian Hoyer?
Well, I mean, if you look at the Jets, I mean, you put Tom Brady on the Jets with Bell. I like that a lot. You put him with Buffalo. I'm not as I like Buffalo's defense, especially the fact that they keep adding on their defense with Edmonds 2 years ago as the 10th pick. Then was it Ed Oliver this year as well. But you look at Miami, and I'm not against if Miami was to get him. I'm more against Miami's play calling on a consistent basis. And now they finally have, because that's another thing with the Jets. The Jets have, in my opinion, one of the worst head coaches, and Adam Gase.
Who was the Dolphins coach last year?
Exactly. And he likes to be very conservative and the quick screens, this and that, which worked for him in Denver, which was statistically the greatest offense when he was the OC. But at the same time, you had Peyton Manning. You had a lot more throughout that team in general, and they got waxed in the Super Bowl against Seattle. But I do believe if Tom was on the Jets, he could win it. I do believe in Miami, it's a question. It's more of does their receiving core and their offensive line stay healthy, because that's been a consistent issue. And also Miami can't stop the run either. So that's a big. Miami's got more of an issue, I think, than any other team in that division, to be honest with you. But I think Buffalo, he could still win it with the defense backing. Because Buffalo will put up fights towards the end of the year, but when you have quarterbacks such as, the kid from Fitzpatrick, and then you have, Allen, and it's just the quarterback play has been very poor, and you can't win with a poor quarterback. And
I think Sam Darnold's the best out of those three, the second year in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
So.
I think Allen can make the plays with his feet, and he can do more. But I think it's going to be a fun. That's the thing I think the AFC East that we're going to have to really look into now is you have 3 second-year quarterbacks, and which quarterback makes the jump to where you can actually kind of look at it. And
Maybe none of them make the jump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's totally possible.
That's what I'm saying. Even the fact that it's even a question, like if you take Tom Brady off the Patriots and give him to any of those other 3 teams, could they possibly win the division? And it's even a question that it's not an immediate yes is just like laughable.
That's just a testament to how great a coach Bill Belichick is.
How good the Patriots are, but not only that, playing in such a shitty division to where you're almost guaranteed to make the playoffs every year just by being like somewhat competent.
And just being in the same division as the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins just merely gives you a chance. Right off the bat,
weirdly,
no matter how good you are anyway.
Which weirdly enough, those teams actually like play the Patriots like they always somehow find a way to split. Like the
Dolphins beat them like the Patriots once a year.
Yeah,
always
so
in Miami.
Yeah, somehow
Tom Brady in Miami, I think is his worst
so
record
weird.
actually.
It's funny. I think I know there's definitely a stat like this with Ben Roethlisberger and the Cleveland Browns, where it's like which quarterback has the most wins since whatever year, in the at the Browns stadium since whatever year, and it's Ben Roethlisberger. It's not even a Browns quarterback.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I think for the Bills and Tom Brady. It's like which quarterback has the most wins at the Bills stadium from this year to this year, and it's Tom Brady.
The one thing I will say about Tom, and people always put out, and I get Belichick's a great coach, this and that, but at the end of the day, consistency is consistency. I'm not going to say Brian Hoyer could win that, because when Matt Castle was there, he didn't win the division.
Right, but he still won like 11 games, right? It just so happened that the Dolphins actually won some games that year.
But Tom Brady would, with that team, with Randy Moss, with Wes, with that group, Tom Brady showed he can win more than 11 games. And that's what it did take. Even though you won 11, doesn't mean, like I said, Miami won the division that year, and that was the last time anyone else has won the division from that.
Yeah, and forever.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I still think, there's no way I think Brian Hoyer goes in there and, wins the division, or even wins a playoff game, as a matter of fact, on top of that, because he hasn't beat Kansas City. And I still think the Chargers I think the Chargers defense would have raised hell on him, to be honest with you. Does Tom have a great backing with that? Yeah, but Tom also, his options on offense drop every year. And he still goes out there and wins the games. They won the Super Bowl only scoring 13 points this year.
Well, yeah. They just pull freaking grocery store baggers out of the store and turn them into Super Bowl MVPs.
Chris Hogan was a lacrosse player for 4 years, and this man's catching AFC Championship.
I know, he was nobody on the Bills. Yeah. They put him on the pass.
Danny Amendola, another one who's obviously Julian Edelman.
You see what they're doing now, right?
Yeah.
With Danny Etling.
Yep. Which makes sense, though.
Danny, of course, it makes all the sense. He's a white guy, and they're making him a receiver. So Danny Etling, if you don't watch college football, he was a decent quarterback for LSU and all those underachieving LSU teams. So I think the Patriots drafted him a year or two ago in the 3rd or 4th round, whatever. And now this year there's a video of him in training camp, balling out, catching balls and all this. It's oh, okay, well, that's the new Julian Edelman once Edelman leaves.
Well, you look at
he's a quarterback in the 3rd round and turned him into a receiver.
The way the receivers run routes, they move the ball quick. The thing about Tom that everyone kills their whole offense and wants to talk about, it's just a system. But the system is get the ball quickly out. Because Nate Soldier, when he was there, was an amazing offensive lineman. He goes to New York, and it's a completely different story. The difference is Eli holds on the ball a second and a half longer than Tom does. Tom gets rid of the ball within two and a half seconds. Yeah. And when you have routes that are designed that way, just get the separation, get 6 yards, get 7 yards, and they just move the ball down. They don't have to be Kansas City where you're throwing 60-yard bombs. And then, they found a way, they have the formula, and if it's worked for so long, then keep on keeping on,
Oh, so, sure.
We were all picking New England. I think the only other interesting thing about that is, like you said, with Le'Veon Bell going to the Jets.
Ready for 500 touches, he said. 500 touches, he said.
He's I got my money, just whatever. This is the last contract I'm getting in my career. Fuck it. 800 touches, I'm good.
Good for him, because some guys, they probably would lay back a little bit, being they want to preserve themselves. Now he's down for gave the fantasy owners an apology.
He's so if he's ready for 500, what is Saquon Barkley ready for 700 touches?
Oh, dude,
he's just gonna be the Wildcat all year. Eli's just gonna be out at receiver.
Saquon's gonna want to break it. He's gonna break it at Golden Tate's locker room and see what he was taking.
I said with everything going on with Melvin Gordon and Zeke, and we'll get into Zeke later, but Saquon should just hold out this year. He's no matter what he's making, he's already underpaid.
Yeah. But every first round. I don't know. Actually,
well, not every. That's what we were saying.
I don't know.
He actually makes a decent amount.
Yeah, he was a second overall pick.
Yeah.
Zeke was 4th.
So
he makes $5 million.
Yeah, his cap hit is 6, and then by the time 2 years from now, he's gonna be making 10.
Yeah, so
which is actually pretty good for a rookie.
Yeah, he really isn't too underpaid. Especially as a running back.
Yeah, just for what he means to that team and that offense. It's just you see how far are we gonna play this out to where it's Zeke has 2 years left, and I don't want to get all the way into that right now, but what's the longest you can have left on your contract and hold out? A rookie's going to sign his deal and then hold out and be I want more.
I think Melvin holding out right now,
but he only has 1 year left, right?
Yeah, and if he holds out, I think that's the time to hold out. The Zeke holdout's just I don't care if he's a training camp, quite frankly.
Of course, that's the same thing. And Julio Jones just said the same thing. He's and I hate how people are Mark Schlereth had a thing. He's just show up to training camp with your pillow and your blanket and your work pail and just go to work. These guys don't need. He literally said some shit like that.
He was a left guard in Denver. Not trying to be rude, but dude,
I'm glad that you had John Elway win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Terrell Davis. Good old Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, not too bad. It wasn't. And he's just these guys showing up.
Ed McCaffrey.
Oh yeah, it's weird, like the things you remember in life. I remember the beginning of a season, Ed McCaffrey on the Broncos breaking his leg, and that was like the beginning of his season. For some reason, I remember that from that season. I don't know who won the Super Bowl, but I remember that.
I remember them killing the Dirty Birds, man. Jamal Anderson, that was the last time we ever saw or heard from him again. That was a fun Falcons team.
But yeah, as far as like the holdout, and then everyone's mad at Zeke and all these guys holding out. I'm like, the holdout doesn't start until they actually miss week 1. It's like, I don't give, like you said, I don't give a shit about training camp.
Yeah,
and you're gonna wind up getting AJ Green.
Yeah, you have got like.
AJ Green's already injured.
Ezekiel Elliott doesn't need to be at training camp. Some people don't like when you say that, but it's like all the training camp injuries, if he tears his ACL, then he really is. Like, that's going to hurt us more than him sitting out all the training camp.
Yeah, he's got to hold on to all the value and leverage while he has it right now. If he plays out, goes out there in week 1 and he without a contract and he breaks his leg, he's screwed for his whole
We don't want him Earl
career.
Thomasing us across the sideline on a stretcher, man, giving us the finger the whole time. But
And then for some reason doubling down on it when somebody asked him recently, he's like, no, I meant it. It's like they gave him every chance to apologize. Like, no, it wasn't for my teammates, but Pete Carroll, fuck that guy.
The one thing I am happy about with the holdout is the Tyrone Smith and Travis Frederick coming out supporting Zeke, saying, no, we understand, we back what he's doing. It's a business, because those guys got paid and they understand.
Yeah.
They understand what Zeke means. Well, they understand what Zeke means to the team. They're just like, at this point, like, yeah, we can see why he wants his money.
Did you hear what DeMarcus Lawrence came out and said? They asked him. He was going to give him Elliott advice on holding out, and he's like, don't ask me about another man's business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's
players don't talk about other players' money. It's just a thing you don't do.
You don't talk about other people's money in general, and I think sports is the same way. Like, if one guy gets paid, and I understand the thing that people need to understand with the whole animosity is, like, Dak and Amari don't have options. Zeke has that 5th-year player option because he was a first-round pick. Amari's already passed that, and Dak was a 4th-round pick, so he doesn't have that extra option like if he was a first-rounder. And so you're going to want to look at the quarterback, and you're trying to take care of those you have to take care of now, versus trying to push maybe Zeke back a little bit further. But I think Zeke's going to, if Zeke doesn't have a contract next year this time, I see him holding out, like truly holding out, like missing some games.
This might be like
Do you think he won't hold out for real this year?
No, not a chance.
I don't think so either. I don't think
he'll be there week 1 without a contract?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because he's still got. I mean, he's still seeing $8 million this year.
Technically, they could do that to him, but that's why he's holding out.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, we could hold him for like 2 or 3 more seasons, something like that.
With the tags and all that.
I think it's his option in the 5th year is the player option.
Team option.
So you're pretty much saying that this is like his warning, like, hey, I'm kind of telling you, if you don't figure this out next year, I'm holding out.
I think this is him trying to accelerate talks, his team trying to push the talks. I'm not the biggest fan of Zeke's team in general, because like when that suspension happened and they were trying to go from 6 games to nothing, I thought they would have been better going from 6 to 2. Because it's hard to go from you're being suspended this to, oh no, he's not being suspended at all.
Right, yeah.
If you would have at least tried to reason whether it was 2 or 3 games, you would have had a better opportunity with it. And also the fact that his team is really pushing the holdout with all the issues going on. Like I said, I don't care if he's at camp, quite frankly. I'd rather him
stay away.
I'd rather him do the training.
We know he's good. He doesn't need to train.
Yeah, exactly.
I had the joke with Dan earlier, and I was saying about the AJ Green thing. I'm like, well, at least he got his injury out of the way early this year. You knew it was going to happen. I mean, you might as well get it done. You might as well get it done now. He'll be good for the second half.
I really thought he was getting traded last year. I thought him, Evans, or Cooper would become a Cowboy, and I thought we ended up getting Cooper.
I would still want the Lions to trade for him right now. Fuck. I mean, he's awesome. He's just, like I said, he's always hurt.
You guys got Kenny Galladay, man.
Yeah, no, he's going to be good.
I love Kenny Galladay.
And then as soon as he's really good, then that'll be the time where he's going to have to get re-signed, and then he'll wind up going somewhere else because we're not good enough to win. I'm sorry, I just had
that was pretty dark.
Sorry.
Kerryon Johnson, man. I like Kerryon Johnson. He was a stud before he got hurt.
Oh, my team suck. I know what it is. I mean, Jesus. I mean, look at the Tigers and everything. But so as far as like the whole, I guess we can get it. We're done with the AFC East, I guess. I mean,
you're already rolling
any teams that can win the Super Bowl, only the Patriots. Who's going to win the division? Only the Patriots.
Well, I did say last week that I'm picking the Colts to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, and I believe they'll beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship game.
The Colts will beat the Patriots.
The Colts are really young, very good offensive line. Andrew Luck's proven that he's back to being that MVP form again. Marlon Mack, when he came back from injury, looked very good. I just think I think that whole Colts and Patriots rivalry is back, and it's very, very clear in the front office more than anywhere else that they need to beat them. They want to beat them more than anyone else. Kansas City, I get what they added on the defensive side, but at the end of the day, with the Clark, nice little add. But Tyrann Mathieu, I felt like he's been one of the most overrated players for a while now. It's like,
overrated? I feel like he's underrated.
But he doesn't do much.
I mean,
he's a gadget player on defense that sticks in a nickel, and it's either he's not healthy or he's blowing coverages too. Like,
he's been healthy for a long time.
But when he's healthy, he's not a force. I mean, he was just in Houston, and Houston was having issues with him, and Houston's got a hell of a pass rush coming that way to limit the time that he's really got to defend somebody.
I think he just makes, for the money he makes, I just think that it wasn't worth it for Houston, for everyone else they had to pay.
He's overpaid, not over. Maybe that's the better word. He's just overpaid in my opinion.
I don't think he's overrated. Means like everyone thinks this guy is like awesome. Like J.J. Watt is almost overrated. I mean, not that he's not good, but I would rather have Aaron Donald, which is not saying much because he's like the best guy in the league.
Yeah, everybody wants Aaron Donald.
But
I love Von Miller.
Talking about how much people get paid, when we'll start with talking about the Zeke thing more in depth. And as far as like this guy is watching a guy, and I like to think I know something about sports, and I like to know people's names at the very least. And there was a guy that for the Titans, a safety, Kevin Byard.
Yes.
He became the highest paid safety in the league. I didn't know who the fuck he was. I had the ESPN update on my phone. Like, oh, who is that? So Zeke is watching this guy get $70 million, and then we're arguing about whether or not, and that's a safety for the Titans, like a nowhere team, and we're arguing about whether or not Zeke Elliott, arguably the best running back in the league, should get paid.
What Jerry Jones said yesterday I didn't like, because he came out and said you don't, and he's not wrong in a sense, but he did say that you don't need the leading rusher to win a Super Bowl. With our formula, you do. Because our formula is, we're not out there, it's not like we're not the Rams where we could have Jared Goff with Woods and Cooks. We're not that kind of.
This is not the Chargers either, where their offense is not.
With the Keenan Allen.
It's not completely around Melvin Gordon.
Yes, exactly. And the offense isn't like built around Dak. Dak needs to have him around. So with him saying, we're offensively we're different than other teams are. We are still in kind of that older age of football where we're not fully. I mean, Linehan showed it last year and the last 2 years his play calling, which is we're not really in modern day of play calling. With Kellen Moore, I would like to see what we look like with Moore.
That's going to be interesting.
I think that's
Kellen Moore.
I think that's the biggest storyline for the Cowboys that's really not being talked about is we have a younger offensive mind now that's more involved with today's game.
When you say younger, I thought he was still in the league as a backup on the Lions. Like I was surprised that he was. I'm not kidding. He was a backup for the Lions. They drafted him, I think. But when you say younger, I'm pretty sure he's like our age.
Yeah,
I mean, he can't be like older than 30, right?
No, I don't believe he's older than 30, as a matter of fact. And Kitna is the quarterback coach there, and Kitna
also used to be on the Lions. I'm starting to like this staff less and less now.
Well, the thing about Kitna is
and they're both Lions.
Who's the GM, Matt Millen?
Well, people kind of kill Kitna, but like Kitna, when it came from a technical point, Kitna was a solid quarterback. When from the physical point, he wasn't the quarterback by all means.
Isn't it like funny and interesting how those backup type quarterbacks wind up being like GMs and like good coaches and teachers, where it's not like, I mean, you look at Elway and by all accounts, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but all he does is look at some guy who's 6'5" or taller and then says, oh, that's a good quarterback.
Oh, man.
He's not. He got outbid for Brock Osweiler, luckily for him, by the Texans.
Oh, good for him, because that was robbery.
Remember the bidding war for Brock Osweiler? That was a good time in sports. He sure is tall, huh?
He got Flacco, man. So.
Oh yeah, that's another one.
He went for Keenum. He went for all these guys, man. It's like, a little much.
You know who got a contract for having one good playoff run? Yeah, let's trade for that guy when he's out of his prime.
And the thing is, he didn't even make the playoff run. It was just the fact that they relied on the defense. Don't screw up too much, Brock, and then Payton come back in the playoffs, and we're going to hopefully you can win the Super Bowl for us. And they did win the Super Bowl that year. It turned out to work out, but I really do look at the way we're looking at our offense, and it's hard to say Zeke's not going to get paid right now, and we're not really going to push for Zeke. And if we don't really push to kind of support Zeke more on it, it's going to start raising the heavy questions of, okay, do we trade him next year? Because we can't just get rid of him for nothing. Because we lost that, and I thought that was one of our biggest falls when we lost that with Tony. Because Tony, because the thing that killed him for years is every time he got hurt, he had to rush back because our backups were horrendous.
Oh, yeah, just making it worse.
Yes.
It'd be a short amount of time before he gets hurt again.
So if we would have brought him back after that Steelers game, we probably would have had some trade leverage with Houston or Denver at that time because both teams were very interested, and they had some defensive contracts that were heavy to move as well. So I don't want us to shoot ourselves in the foot by getting rid of a top-tier talent for nothing. if we have to get rid of him.
They should bring Romo back just as like a ceremonial holder for all the
Dude,
kicks.
he's making like $8 million doing commentating. He should not ever leave that booth.
Just have him hold.
I love him. Every time I hear him, I'm like, that's Tony.
I love Tony Romo. He's actually like really fun to listen to.
He doesn't sound like a robot voice.
No, he doesn't.
He sounds like a real guy.
He sounds like us
drinking beer, watching TV.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I keep waiting for this. I tell Dan every single season, I'm like, somebody steal my idea, please, and just make a broadcast, or like, you know how for the national championship they do, ESPN has done multiple broadcasts, like a Homer broadcast, a coach broadcast. Like,
I love the coach broadcast.
I want like a real broadcast to where it's just like guys like us and like, oh, what the fuck?
Just cursing.
You're allowed to curse and stuff, and it's just like guys like you can tell they have chips in their mouths and like, oh, backdoor cover, what the fuck? Why'd I take the Bengals laying 6? What was I thinking?
I don't think I'd be allowed on air after the Rams and Cowboys game, man. I don't think I'd be allowed back. I was pretty upset with that game.
This is a gambling one. I'm like, last part of a 3-team parlay. I'm like, why the fuck did I take the under in this game? It's so stupid. Oh man, I would love a broadcast like that. Maybe we should create it and just steal the NFL rights. Like, nobody's paying attention. Ask for forgiveness, not for permission. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Like, you were broadcasting NFL games. Like,
Didn't know I couldn't
it
do
was
that,
on.
sir.
We had a microphone. What'd you want? I think
what the fuck?
I think Philadelphia, though, and that's going to be a big question we're going to see with them, because the thing about Philly is they have great play calling, and they have been able to make everything work for them. And now that they have Carson, does Carson stay healthy? And if Carson stays healthy, that team is really,
What you could talk to is his $128 extension, which is kind of risky.
Yeah,
for, like you just said, if he can stay
That's
healthy.
the thing. It's Carson. I'm going to wince, but I'm not against him obviously making his money, because he was he was a fantastic quarterback for when he showed. And every time he plays,
Wentz, even though I'm a Cowboy fan,
every time he plays, he shows he's a great guy, great quarterback out there. I really do look at Philly and think that's going to be our toughest competition. I do think Washington could sneak in that talk again, like they have.
It depends on Haskins.
Yeah.
Depends on Haskins
And
Darius Geis back.
Yeah, so they're pretty much the Redskins are interesting because they have Haskins, and then Geis missed all of last year. They're pretty much getting a first-round pick back, so they pretty much have 2 first-round picks in this season.
Foster's out for the year. Well,
Yeah.
I think Foster will come back later because the ACL was a earlier injury, so he'll probably get in that injured reserve but be back by like week 10 type thing.
Yeah.
And if they're, let's say, 6-4 or 5-5 and they're looking a little sketchy, but then you add Foster, because even though Foster is what he is as a person, defensively, fantastic player. No, it's just true, you know?
And also go figure an Alabama player getting injured in the pros.
Oh, dude.
Once you go
Tell me
through
about
Alabama and that whole SEC thing, it's just like, well, I understand these guys are talented, and it just seems like they're always hurt.
We're relying on a Alabama receiver out in Dallas, so really relying on that one. I think Amari should
Worked out
have.
for the Falcons so far.
Oh yeah, definitely. But Julio started his career with some injuries too, as well.
He
With
always
the
misses
foot
a
and
game
everything.
or 2. He only has 4 toes, so that whole thing.
Oh my God. 5 toes, people. 5.
How about the
5
Giants
toes.
receiving core just depleting? I'm sorry, Stretch.
How much is Odell Beckham loving this right now? It's just like,
Odell love
Don't
it,
you
but-
love the quarterback competition? Daniel Jones versus Eli Manning.
the only one that's less interesting than that is the Miami one with Fitzpatrick and
That's
Rosen.
like the New York Giants is the
like,
quarterback.
who-
It's the same as Fitzpatrick.
It's like, who's going to win? It's like, who
Well,
cares?
Daniel Jones is getting
They're going to pick
booed.
the wrong one. We know that.
Daniel Jones is consistent. He's consistently getting booed at training camp. Like everyone consistently is booing Daniel Jones at training camp. I'm just like, man, this poor guy.
That wasn't his fault.
Earmuffs real quick, guys. New York fans are idiots. It's like, Eli Manning, we won these 2 Super Bowls. It's like,
That was forever ago, guys.
it's a newsflash. Like, Eli Manning did not win those Super Bowls.
Walks away.
Stretch, could you grab me a Guinness, please?
Nah.
Stretch,
After that comment, I think his earmuffs are still
can you grab
on.
me a Guinness, please? No, but yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is
Oh, we
Stretch's.
skipped over the Eagles. They had.
Yeah, we're just kind of
They
jumping
added.
around.
I liked their ad of Jordan Howard. Like that was a sneaky ad.
Also,
like,
yeah.
I like it in their rotation because they run running back.
that
by
scared me as a
committee.
Cowboys
Yeah.
fan. I'm like,
Also,
I'm
Deshaun
not so
Jackson.
sure the Cowboys are going to win the East if they.
I'll be honest with you, man. I'm not concerned with Deshaun Jackson.
What do you
The
mean?
way
what do you
we
mean
were,
not so
and
sure?
Deshaun.
I'm pretty sure the Eagles are the favorite, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna win.
Probably,
I know you guys are Cowboys fans, but I would.
Of course, I'm biased. But
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's what we're here for. But I would much rather. I think the Eagles. I don't know. I mean,
I'll be honest with you. I don't look at
the
Phil.
Cowboys have
they
Zeke,
have
I think,
pretty much the same roster they won the Super Bowl with, and I mean,
Without their
Carson Wentz
quarterback.
coming back healthy.
Except Nick Foles, who won.
I mean, it's just and the fact
the
is
one
this-
who won it.
Yeah, but they got there with Wentz, and then
Let's
Foles.
also talk. Let's stop acting like Deshaun Jackson. This isn't like 5 years. Deshaun Jackson, I get it, but like Byron Jones did fine against Odell for like 2 years.
Right, but
and
Deshaun-
Odell's 10 times the receiver Deshaun is.
I'm not saying Deshaun Jackson is like the
I'm
end
not
all
worried
be
about
all.
Deshaun
I'm just saying
Jackson.
it's a nice little sneaky addition. It's not like, I mean, it's good to have, but Alshon Jeffrey is still their number one receiver.
And that to me is even then he gets like that. I don't look at him as a threatening number one receiver. He gets 800 yards. Like that's not a threatening number one receiver.
Yeah, but their offense as a whole and their scheme and their play calling.
That's
and
what
their
I'm saying. That's
coaching,
what makes
it's
him
still
strong.
good.
Zach,
Everything as a
Ertz,
whole, yeah.
Jeffrey,
Ertz is the one
Howard,
I'm worried about
Wentz.
more than anybody else on that team when it comes to like being a receiving threat because he's arguably the best tight end. I mean, I still think Kelsey is just because
Yeah,
he's
debatably,
consistently
yeah.
done it for like multiple years, and you have your Ertz and then Kittle. But I do look at this Philly team and think that's our threat. I mean, that is our team that could rival it out with this.
That
But
is. I'm scared
we
the
swept
most.
them last year, so let's not forget that either. I mean, we did sweep them last year.
This is something that should make you guys worried as Cowboys fans. You see Sean Lee volunteered to play special teams. Like, if you're a Cowboys fan, you don't want Sean Lee doing anything on a football field.
I don't want it.
Besides being a linebacker. Like, that guy is a guarantee, a shoe-in for 2 or 3 games.
He
missed
actually
every
played
I'll be
all
honest
16
with you.
games last year. He didn't get hurt.
Yeah, which is
It's
surprising.
amazing.
I will be very honest with you. I don't want him really being a linebacker in most packages. We have shown our efficiency as a defense. He's not better than Leighton Vander Esch. He's not better than Jalen
Vander Esch
Smith.
is
right.
Yeah, Vander Esch, great coverage linebackers. What made Sean
Yeah,
Lee
we got
great for
Jalen
us.
Smith, who's not bad either.
Jalen Smith, who I think is, I mean, we'll have to pay him coming down the road soon as well.
Yeah, not quite as much. I don't think not as much, right?
No, he'll make like
Ooh,
top
if he
five.
has another year like he just had, I think so.
He'll make top 5 linebacker
Yeah, I
money.
think if he has another season like that,
I'd
I
be
think.
glad to keep him.
Yeah.
But I'm-
well,
Like,
Right
that's
now,
what I'm saying.
the
like,
linebacker set for Dallas.
getting
looks
back
to
into
be-
the Zeke and
right.
Dak, Amari Cooper, Byron Smith thing, every Cowboys fan is like, oh, it's fine, we'll find the money, we'll be like, you can't pay everybody. So, like I was telling, me and Dan were talking about it for a long time earlier before we came here. It's like, eventually it's fine if you say that you have to pay Dak, you have to pay Zeke, you have to pay those guys. You're going to lose some of these defensive guys. You already paid DeMarcus Lawrence. You're either going to lose Smith or Vander Esch, or whenever you have to pay these guys, you can't pay everybody. No team is able to pay. It seems like at the time, you're like, oh, we'll figure it out. It's like, no, these guys are going to go where they can get the most money.
Well, the thing that we've done a good job with is also, I mean, a lot of people don't always take this into effect, but when you're having teams draft, there's a bit, I mean, guys are looking for personalities, and guys are also looking for the type of guys who want to make money and don't. Leighton Vander Esch grew up 15 minutes outside the stadium. He grew up a diehard fan. Jalen Smith grew up a diehard fan. Some of these guys, maybe they do take a little bit of a cut to help, but with that, and it happens. Guys do it. But at the same time, I think our defense is, as long as we keep our defense intact, because our defense was phenomenal. Our defense was better than our offense last year. A lot of people want to talk about our offense.
That was the biggest surprise.
That was the thing. When Rashard came in and helped really fix that defense, our defense stood out. So, I mean, we were a top 3 defense last year. Our offense wasn't top 3. Our defense is the one who I think.
Lawrence was
Yeah.
one of the top in sacks.
Then we have the kid from UCF, which is a big. They said it was another one of our second round gambles with, a defensive lineman with issues.
That's why I finished 3rd last year, our 10-team fantasy league. Remember how you're like, oh, you won, or JJ won, or whatever, and he came in second. Sorry, Chase just brought up fantasy. I had fucking Le'Veon Bell as my 1st round pick. That's what happened. That's why I didn't win. Chase just said, should I avoid Zeke?
Do
and
not
Melvin
avoid Chase. Do not avoid Zeke. Do not.
I think Melvin Gordon might possibly actually hold out. I don't think Zeke is going to hold out.
If you have the chance between those two, Melvin Gordon's not even in the conversation with Ezekiel Elliott.
So I think the tough pick to have is 1, because if you have 2, you're taking 12 team.
Oh yeah.
So if you have the 2nd pick, and eventually down the road we're going to do a full entire show on fantasy, but to get into it a little bit, if you have the 1st pick, I think you could take Saquon because he has no issues. He's going to get the touches.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to run him into the ground, so no problem with
And he'll
carries.
hold out next year. And so I think I would take him just over the small fact that something might happen with Zeke. But if you have the 2nd pick and Zeke's there, I mean, you have to take Zeke.
Zeke doesn't have the leverage to fully hold out like these. Like Melvin does more of because he's only got 1 more year, but he really doesn't in a sense.
I was thinking the reverse.
Well, Zeke has 2 more years. Like, yeah, you can hold out now, but what are you going to do next year? We still have you for 2 more years, and plus they can tag him if they want to. Zeke, I mean, you just don't hold out now is the thing because you put the warning out there, you make it clear you want to get paid, and then if we don't pay him next year, I think is when it happens. Versus Melvin, he's already into that where he wants to get paid now, and if not, he won't hit free agency, I don't believe. I think he'll get traded before that happens. But at the same time, like I said, I would go Ezekiel Elliott before Melvin due to the fact that Melvin could really hold out 4 or 5 games. And he could hold out till they trade him or until they pay him.
Yeah, and so Zeke also, like you said, with the 2 years left thing, he's not going to hold out 2 seasons.
No, he's not.
Which is like, but what we were saying earlier, I don't blame him at all for holding out because look at the carries he's gotten every single season. And not even just that. If you watch college football, he was getting a ton of carries.
He won Ohio State a national championship.
Let's not get into that right now.
I mean, he ran all over. He ran all over Saban. Like
he ran over everybody.
Yeah, the last 5 games, it was like
get a full shirt, asshole.
But I mean, it was.
But yeah, it was nasty. So going back to college, these guys, arguably the best that they ever are.
Especially Melvin, man. He had some.
Yeah, Wisconsin again. Another guy who destroyed Michigan. Thanks a lot. But going back to college, these are guys who arguably are in their prime in a year when they're not even getting paid in college. So if you count those 2 or 3 years, or 3 years at least, and then you already played for free for 3 years, and then your first 3 or 4 years in the league, you're not making as much. It's going to have to change with them signing shorter deals coming into the league, or something has to change. What me and him were talking a lot about earlier. It's pretty much just like,
yeah, they can't be as disposable. Like, they don't have a chance to make as much money.
You can't blame him.
You just draft a top running back, use him up for his rookie contract, and then just trade him away. Never pay him.
And Zeke wants to get paid now for what he's worth now. He doesn't want to wait until they give him 600 more carries. Like, he's the most valuable he's ever going to be right now, so I don't blame him.
I mean, if he stays healthy all this year again and does what he's been doing, then no, his value jumps up only more.
But think about this. We're arguing right now about whether you should pay Dak and Zeke. Imagine, and that's right now in his prime. If you give him 2 more years, his argument is only going to go down the more injuries and wear and tear goes
leverage.
I mean, I would want Dallas to pay him now because this is going to be because in my opinion, he's going to have another good year. So with that being said, his value is only going to go up. And if we wait too long, it's going to be okay. Now you're going to be paying him $17 million a year, and then it's going to you don't want him to fall off in the middle of that contract.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Kind of like DeMarco when he went to Tennessee, he had that really good season.
Then
the next season was going to end, then he fell off towards that.
We're saying Zeke is a smart guy, or at least he has people who he pays to be smart for him. He's seeing Kevin Byard get $70 million.
Yeah, nobody knows who that is.
He's Landon Collins.
Who is Kevin Byard?
He saw, I'm sure, what happened to DeMarco Murray when the Cowboys ran him into the ground, let him go, and then he replaced him.
I hate that comment so much, dude.
What,
he
the
was
DeMarco
hurt
Murray
for like 3 years with us, and he had 1 good season with us, truly. Like, he only finished out 1 year with us, and because of him, we lost to the Packers.
But it was an awesome season, though, and then they just let him go.
Because, like, I hate to say it, but, like, McFadden was 3rd in rushing the next year. Like, it was kind of proved that, like, yeah, we get it. You're really, like, you were great for us that year, but, like, you had a carrying issue. You always had a carrying issue. You always had injury issues.
So as a Cowboys fan, then, if you watch that trend, then you see McFadden, DeMarco Murray. You saw Marion Barber going back a little bit further.
Oh, don't bring him.
Wow, that is long ago.
He was a backup behind Julius Jones and Rashard Choice. He was like a 3rd down back.
He was definitely at least like a featured back.
He's like a goal line.
He was a featured back with like some of our worst teams.
Marion
right
the Barbarian.
Him and Maroney.
Marion the Barbarian. Boney Maroney.
Yeah.
You do running back nicknames all day.
Never heard of these nicknames.
Fast Willie Parker, who wasn't actually that fast.
No, I never understood that.
I never heard of that.
His nickname was Fast Willie Parker, and he was not that fast. He was like an 80 speed in Madden.
Oh, we're going to the Madden ratings.
Not that that means anything. I mean,
no, and but like the thing with the trend with running backs that we're not like with Zeke that's different than every other running back is literally the fact that McCaffrey, please, McCaffrey.
No, I'd rather have Kamara.
McCaffrey, man, he's gonna. I don't think he'll be able to get as a 3rd running back. I think McCaffrey's in the top 10.
He means 3rd overall.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're assuming Saquon and Zeke, would you take McCaffrey?
I'd go Kamara. McCaffrey's a really good pick, though. I like both of them.
I like McCaffrey because that's like kind of the go-to guy for that offense. Versus Kamara, you still have Michael Thomas. You still have now they have Jared Cook as a tight end over there. Fantastic.
Ingram is gone. Ingram's gone now.
Ingram is gone.
Baltimore, I think.
But they did add Latavius Murray, which he will get some carries over there.
Is Ingram on the Lions or is he on the
Ravens?
Ravens, yeah.
But I like McCaffrey because if there's someone to go to as an offensive option, Carolina's McCaffrey, I think, is just like the guy to go to. Because, I mean, DJ Moore's the other receiver.
He's a good receiver, too.
I think they'll spread it around a little bit more this year, but McCaffrey last year was one of those guys who I wasn't looking at going into fantasy, and then he had us like every single, especially if you're in PPR.
Yeah.
I know Kamara gets his catches too, but McCaffrey is just all day, like
he's the best,
2-yard dump offs.
I think he's a 1,000 guy upcoming this season.
I think the Patriots are going to trade Bill Belichick for him, honestly. I mean, a white running back that's that good. Are you kidding me?
I don't think they'll ever trade Bill Belichick.
I think Bob Kraft is going to trade himself for Christian McCaffrey. He's like, oh my God, how did we miss on this guy?
The one thing with Zeke, though, I will say is he's the only running back we've had in a long time that's shown progression every year. Like last year, he caught over 75 balls out the backfield, which there was a big thing, can he catch out the backfield? Well, finally we started throwing the ball out of the backfield and started using him, utilizing him more on that.
But
I think that
you said progression, but his first year was his best year, no?
No, I'm talking about as a total running back, like outside the receiving and running.
Better at stuff and
because it's like
not numbers and everything.
Not just the rushing part, because a lot of people look at rushing as like, because running backs have changed, and that's the big argument I think it comes down to with Zeke Elliott now is like, is that a trade alert?
No, MLB has fined but not suspended Trevor Bauer. They should have gave him a fucking medal. That was awesome.
By the way, funniest thing I've ever seen in baseball.
Look it up right now.
I hate stretch, but Trevor Bauer's meltdown was the best meltdown I've seen in baseball.
You know how guys do, like they throw at guys after a bat flip or whatever? It's like, if I gave up a home run, isn't that your natural reaction? It's like, if you didn't see it, Dan, this guy, he was getting beat up. A pitcher was getting beat up all inning. Dude. He took the ball, turned around towards the outfield, threw the ball out of the
right into center field.
It's like a thing that you would think if you were like a beer league softball game and a guy gave up a home run. He got pissed. He took the ball, threw it back out over the wall into the stands.
The best thing was Francona coming out there.
That is hilarious.
Francona yelling at him like,
how has that not happened sooner?
I don't. Well, because usually there are people there, but luckily where they were playing, there was no like people over in that middle area. Like there's no stands over there.
He just throws it into the new netting.
Dude, imagine if like some child got hit in the forehead.
Oh my God,
dude, that would have been wow. But when I was talking about progression, I do believe that as we see him progress more and more, the game.
Is that what Francona said?
It was mic'd up. It was beautiful.
He's like, I don't know.
He came out there like this, and immediately Bauer's like, I'm so sorry. Pats him on the shoulder. I'm so sorry. And like walked away. It's like, but when we were looking at the running back era, well, the big argument was coming with Zeke now is people are valuing receivers more than ever now because it's becoming more and more as a throwing league.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the running back position is devalued.
I've heard a thing or two.
The thing about Zeke that a lot of people don't want to talk about as well is when it comes to pass blocking, he's arguably the best pass blocking running back, which a lot of people want to kind of undervalue, but it's a big thing to have an extra guy that can block well and size-wise.
That counts for something.
Yes, I still think that counts for a lot,
Yeah.
And then I don't think we're going to end up with him next year. I think we are going to lose him.
We're going to lose him next year?
I think we are.
Seems like the kind of guy that Jerry Jones would just re-sign, though. I mean, it seems like.
I just feel like all the pieces are right in Dallas. Well, I was telling him earlier,
Robert Quinn said
it's one thing to run a team like a business and just always be good. But when you have all the pieces there, your ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl.
That's another ad we're not talking about is Robert Quinn.
This gives you your best chance to win the Super Bowl. I keep forgetting that we signed Robert Quinn.
We traded nothing
Lawrence.
from Lawrence and Quinn on the other end.
That's crazy.
Quinn's playing on his more dominant end now because on the other side is Lawrence.
You can't dismiss the Deshaun Jackson signing and then talk up the Robert Quinn signing. He's not the guy. He's not the guy who he used to be.
We have slight bias.
Okay, but at the same time,
fair enough.
It's just the fact that an extra pass rusher on a very deep defensive line already is more effective than a guy who can run two routes.
Right, but we're only talking about
He's just a Hail Mary guy.
We're talking about the guy who stretches the. I'm just saying, it's pretty much an equal signing to me. The impact that Robert Quinn is going to have is at least similar as Deshaun Jackson.
I won't agree with that because the pass rushing is more of a effect than receiving.
I understand he's a name, and I love Robert Quinn, but wasn't he on Miami last year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we're gonna kill him for being on a bad team?
No, I'm just saying, I'm a year past Robert Quinn. I was excited last year when the Dolphins got him. I was like, oh, that's a pretty good signing. Did really nothing for them, and I understand it's another body. You need defensive line depth. But I'm just saying, you can't say Deshaun Jackson is a nothing addition, and then say Robert Quinn is
we were just talking him up earlier.
I'm just saying when we talk about receiver, I've seen Byron Jones do fine against a lot of. Listen, He did great in Atlanta, against Atlanta last year, to the points where you had to throw to Ridley. It was tough to throw to Julio at points. Where Odell for 2 years, Byron Jones was playing a lot better against Odell. And Odell's, like I said, 10 times the receiver Deshaun Jackson is. I mean, this Byron Jones, if he's going up on Alshon Jeffrey, I'm not taking away from them. I do believe, it's a solid ad to stretch the field, but at the same time, Eagle fans are jumping on Deshaun Jackson like he's back to returning punts against New York. Like, it's not that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that game. I remember that game.
Those are the days, boys.
He's a little salty. I watched that game live. I remember that.
But I would take more defensive line depth than receiver depth on any team at any moment for any team.
I'm not saying Robert Quinn is not a good addition. All I'm saying is you can't just say Deshaun Jackson is not a good addition and then say Robert Quinn's an awesome addition.
Well, I mean, wasn't Robert Quinn?
I'm just saying they're both good. I'm just saying they're both good.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine.
You don't need trouble.
I just look at like Deshaun and just think, okay, well, hopefully you guys, can consistently move. Like, if Carson gets hurt again, I don't know who's their quarterback.
Well, speaking of new receivers, how do you feel about Randall Cobb taking over Cole Beasley's spot?
I get worried about injuries with him, dude.
Hey, I mean, 1 year, $5 million.
It was a nice ad, but I'm afraid he's only gonna play like 7 games.
Would you rather have Cole Beasley?
God, no.
Is Beasley on the Patriots?
What? You hated Cole Beasley?
He's on the Bills.
He's on the Bills, yeah.
Cole Beasley, because Cole
Close.
Beasley
He'll be on the
made
Patriots.
easy catches look hard, and Cole Beasley was also like.
He was clutch. He was your guys' best receiver for a while. Like
I
That's
thought
not saying much.
that's fair, but every third down, like Dan had a weird love for Cole Beasley. It was funny.
I just like calling him Cole Beasley.
That was the name for a second with him,
whose
too, though.
nickname does not match their body at all. Cole Beasley. It's
He
like
can dunk though, dude. It's pretty impressive how he can do.
Do you know he can rap
sneaky
too?
athletic, I would say.
Look up, go on Spotify
Please don't
and look up
his
Cole
rap album,
Beasley.
please don't.
I promoted Cole Beasley's rap.
If he would. That upset me. His rap album really upset me. I was like, I didn't listen to more than 30
You
seconds.
listened to it though? You
30
checked it out?
seconds. 30 seconds. I was
Me
like, I'm done.
too.
And I was told, you need to listen to this, Rob, because this is your team right here. This is your guy. And then I heard it and I was so upset. I was like, and then he like trashes saying, oh, well, I'm going to go to Buffalo. No, go to Buffalo. I don't care.
You're never going to be heard from again.
Yes,
your career's going to die.
done.
Or did he instantly become the best receiver in Buffalo?
He was already the best receiver in the Cowboys until Amari Cooper got there.
Bro, honestly, though, you're not lying there. Like that was the upsetting part there. And I'm more on the fence right now with anybody else is Dak Prescott, because my big thing is if he cannot find the accuracy, which he has not shown that he's done more, like his percentage-wise, yes, I get the completion percentage, but his downfield ball is horrendous. And if we can't stretch the offense, it's going to hurt us a lot.
Which is what Amari Cooper does, is the downfield.
And Michael Gallup is known for being a very
Gallup is a very good downfield
guy, and we can't have
Fast.
these good downfield guys, but we can't because when you're looking at Amari Cooper with his big games, it wasn't downfield catches, it was yards after catch.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was a big thing that I was.
The one that sticks in my head is the one that was like 10 yards from the goal line. He catches it, he kind of ducks under the guy, and then like runs in for the game where he had like 3 touchdowns.
Against Philly.
But I'm more out on Dak Prescott. I think Dan's more in, and I'll let him give his opinion on that. But my whole thing is, and I'm kind of back and forth on it, like if you're going to pay Dak number 1 top 10 quarterback money, then you shouldn't need to also pay Zeke. If you're going to pay a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you pay Aaron Rodgers because he doesn't need. He makes everyone else better. He doesn't need.
I completely agree with that.
If you're,
that's just the market, though. It's one question to say,
but it's a
does he
difference.
Deserve it, or what is the market for
There's
it?
a difference. The market, he's going to get top 10 quarterback money. The market is Nick Foles getting like 18 million. Dak is going to get like 20 something.
No, he's going to get 30 something.
Yeah. So
I've heard over 30.
So
35 close
So
to
when you
around
talk
there.
about I know the market. When you say the market, you're talking about Nick Foles and all these other guys getting what they're getting. The top 10 is not the market. The top 10 is like paying top 10 money. So I go back and forth on it. I said, if you need a guy like Zeke to make Dak better, then why are you paying Dak all this money? But at the same time, if you're going to pay Dak, don't you kind of have to pay Zeke? Because he's going to make
that would be interesting. What would that be like without Zeke? You think it would be
we saw that.
Is Zeke not a huge crush for
we,
Dak?
we,
I'd say that. I love Dak.
We saw when Zeke was suspended how bad we were. Though we did lose Tyron Smith, we did lose a couple of guys, but at the end of the day, Dak was horrendous without Zeke during that second season.
I've never seen Dak be horrendous.
But when Zeke was gone, he was horrendous.
He's a check down guy.
Right, like he was really bad when Zeke was suspended. There was a reason why he missed the playoffs. Like we went 9-7 that year.
Although if you're going to give Dak anything, we were just talking about Cole Beasley being his best receiver. So I mean,
And I will say this: that the one thing I will say why I'm excited about Kellen Moore is we were 29th in red zone last year. For a team to be 10-6 and 29th in red zone, there's a lot of improvement that can still be done. Is really what's being said.
Worst comes to worst, he can always come in and play backup quarterback too. I mean, if your $30 million Dak goes out, you can.
As crazy as it sounds, I would love for us to miss the playoffs just so Jason Garrett finally gets fired. Like that's what it's gonna take, dude.
It's gonna be 9-7 for eternity. He never gets fired.
We were listening to Dan Le Batard's show earlier. What did Dan Le Batard call Jason Garrett?
He called him
a Sears window mannequin.
I had to
pause. I was like, is he talking about Jason Garrett?
It's like the Sears window mannequin that just agrees with Jerry Jones.
I hope for some reason Jason Garrett is tuned into this and I can just explain to him how much I hate him. I absolutely hate your face.
He would just agree with you. He's like, yes.
You're right, man. You're right.
He's just a bobblehead. Thank you. More money,
bad,
please.
Man, he is. But you see it this year. You see Jerry making very clear, no, we have to make the next step, which I believe one playoff win is not going to be enough. We have to make an NFC Championship game, I think, for Jason to keep his job. I think that's where it's really coming from right now.
My friend from college, she's a big Penn State fan. So she got Saquon going for her, and then that whole Paterno thing.
How are you feeling about? Because I know you're more of a Dak guy, like he said. So how are you feeling about Dak coming this year? Do you think the extension needs to be done this year?
I don't think he is as stressed about getting his extension as Zeke, the top running back, would be. Like the threat of him being injured or losing value is not going to go away.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I can see that. I believe the franchise. Here's the thing. I always look at Dak Prescott and think the first 3 years of Russell Wilson, where it was the big question: is he worth it? Then the fourth year, he had that MVP season.
Well, Russell Wilson was worth it because of this. Then the second year when they win a Super Bowl.
Well, he didn't win it. Marshawn Lynch in that defense was really the catalyst.
They had a part. That definitely helped.
That fourth year when he lost, it was the third year he won it. Fourth year he lost it. That fourth year was his best year, where he was MVP.
Well, there's no question there when you make the Super Bowl. Then there's no.
With that
Dak
formula,
is not a top 5 quarterback like Zeke is a top 5 running back.
And that's
a whole different. So he's not he doesn't have as much leverage as Zeke does.
Well, throwing wise, because Russ was drafted, I think, 3rd round, and Dak was 4th. But throwing wise, the first 3 years, Dak is actually better throwing wise, which is going to blow a lot of people's mind. But when you look at it, Dak actually had a better first 3 years throwing the ball. But it's the 4th year jump that Russell made that you're like, wow.
I'm just being an idiot. You guys continue.
We're gonna get schooled this soon. Yeah.
Zing.
Penn State, man.
No, yeah, she's a big Penn State fan. It's probably one of the girls that I know that knows the most about football.
Okay.
And she actually goes crazy and stuff like that. But anyway.
So was she out there protesting when Paterno's statue got taken down?
I don't really know how she felt about the whole thing. I mean, obviously it sucked. It's a weird thing to go
Martin
through.
Allen.
it's like you have to support your school, but at the same time, to me, this is a weird thing I didn't think we were going to get into, but the Paterno thing, it's he's just an old guy. I don't think he really knew what was going on. It's
yeah, Patino didn't know strippers were over here talking to his
No.
recruits.
Paterno is an old man. Look at him. You just want to give him a hug. Look at him. Patino is a greaseball scumbag.
Oh yeah, keep Italians out of college basketball. That's what you got to do, man. They're the crazy ones. Them, Calipari, bro. You got some names in there. You got to watch out with them. Man.
All I'm saying is, we're acting like college basketball and college football these pure amateur things. Shouldn't strippers be allowed? Shouldn't you be? If they're 18 years old, you shouldn't. I guess. It's strippers, it's not hookers.
That's a great way to get into the ACC. The Miami Hurricanes for years really thought that it was okay, and you saw how well it worked for those Miami Hurricanes team. They were out there running the early 2000s. They looked fantastic.
No, so if you're trying to do everything in your power to recruit these kids, and you're an 18-year-old kid, and you're like, oh, there's strippers in Louisville? I'm down. Hell yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go either play at Duke with some guy who definitely dyes his hair, or I'm gonna go play for another guy who definitely dyes his hair, and there's gonna be strippers.
Oh, I'd much rather play for Calipari than Coach K, just because Calipari, yeah.
It's gonna be fun, I guess.
You'll have fun, and you're still gonna be a top. You're still gonna be a top pick.
I love Calipari so much. The thing that he did, I don't know if it was a 30 for 30 or something, where he's on the stage and all of his former players are behind him.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, 30 for 30. What was the 30 for 30 though?
It was. I'm trying to remember it.
But anyways,
The title, but yeah, one and done.
all of his former players are behind him, and he's like, I always did because he knows about the criticism about him.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, I did everything for my players. He's like, any of my players, raise your hand if you ever think I held you back. And there's only one guy raising his hand behind him. He's like, let me guess, DeMarcus Cousins raising his hand. It's like, I knew it. And of course he was. I love, they definitely did not plan that. They just knew each other so well like that. And even if they did plan it, I don't want to know about it because it was just such a cool moment. He's like, raise your hand if I ever held you back. And DeMarcus Cousins raises his hand because he's just an asshole like that.
Boogie, oh man, good old Boogie.
Oh, man.
But to really dive in the division, of course I'm going to pick Dallas to win it. I do think Philly's our toughest option. Like every year,
So you
it's
really
really
think
been.
Philly's going to win it, but you have to pick
I don't
Dallas
think
as your
Philly's
Cowboys.
really going to win it because I
That's a
do think
Dallas
our
fan, yeah.
defense. I think
So you're saying you
defensively-
honestly think so?
No, because I think offensively we're going to improve because there's a lot to improve on, and I think defensively we're consistent. We're still like
Gonna
we're
have
still
a
a good
whole
defensive
offseason
group.
with Amari Cooper and Jason Witten back.
Like, oh God.
Do we need to talk any more about...
Just a $3 million tight end spot.
Yeah, I don't mind him.
That's not bad.
It's just I really
I
was
like Blake
damn,
Jarwin
dude.
and Dalton Schultz.
Jeff
Not bad.
Swaim? Is he
I hate Jeff Swaim. Oh, Enrico Gathers.
I don't think anybody feels any strong emotions.
He was a
about Jeff
basketball
Swaim.
player too. He wasn't a football player.
Everyone thought he was gonna be like Antonio Gates. I'm like, guys, no, like that
No,
doesn't
not
happen.
even close.
It rarely happens. Like even Jimmy Graham can't catch touchdowns anymore for some reason.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Dude, you fell into the fantasy trap with him too.
And, last year, the year before, I got him whatever year he wasn't.
2 years in a row, I fell
Whatever
into
year
it.
he wasn't good.
Right.
Yeah, whatever year he wasn't good, that's the year I got
I was
him.
like, all right, Russell Wilson
course.
would use them. Okay, Russell Wilson didn't use them. Like, oh, I know Aaron Rodgers will use them. I'm like, all right, Aaron, you didn't want to use them either. So like, clearly, who's gonna use you?
Yeah, and then Eric Ebron, the bane of my roster.
Eric Ebron. Hey, who did the Lions pick first overall this year?
Yeah, it's a fucking tight end. TJ Hawkinson is great. I'm sure he'll be in the Pro Bowl for the
And you
fucking
signed Jesse
Colts.
James.
You know, I don't agree with tight ends going in the first round.
Neither do I.
Like,
I saw that. I was watching my phone at work, and I was like, I immediately text
just-
Marty. I was like, you did it again.
I'm not saying
You
the
did it
position's a
again.
bad position. I just like
We suck again.
I just look at the first round, you're either offensive line, defensive line, or if you truly need to find a changer, you got to find some I think offensive line, defensive line, maybe obviously a quarterback if you need it.
We could have gotten a Michigan guy. Oh my God, I would have bought the jersey tomorrow. We could have got Rashawn Gary.
I like him.
We could have got even Ed Oliver. I would have taken. I was like,
Ed Oliver's awesome.
anybody,
man.
yeah, he could have been the #1 overall pick. He's not a quarterback, so maybe 2. But before the football season started, before the college football season started, he was arguably like the most talented player in the country. And then for some reason his draft stock fell because he wanted to wear a coat, and his coach said he couldn't wear a coat when it was cold.
Also because he kind of did the whole, well, I'm playing for Houston. We're not going to ever, if UCF can go undefeated twice, they're never going to make the playoffs.
It's also your fault for signing with Houston.
Well,
you do.
hold on, don't say that because Tom Herman's the one who fully recruited and said he was going
Right.
to stay there.
Yeah.
Then Herman left to Texas because
Well, he learned to lie at Ohio State. So
Well, you learn from the best.
yeah, you do what you do.
Hey, but I will say, Oliver was a 5-star prospect when he went there.
He was gonna be the
3-star
#1
that came out of nowhere.
He was going to be the #1 pick.
He
And
went
then-
to Texas, he would have been, I
Yeah,
thought.
and then Texas would have been perfect for him. It's funny that you say that, especially with their defensive scheme.
Yeah.
But then he winds up, the Lions are able to pick him, and we pick a fucking tight end from Iowa. I don't understand.
The Iowa tight ends were really hyped this year, man.
Two of them went in the
Noah Fant.
2 of them went in the first round.
They
How?
were so hyped up and just talked
As
about.
somebody who watches the Big Ten, I didn't see somebody who was like, oh, I got to get that guy in the first round.
I did love Gesicki, like I said earlier. I loved Gesicki from Penn State 2 years ago when he came out, but he didn't go in the first round. He won the
Gesicki
second.
Penn State or North Carolina?
Penn State.
Penn State.
He was a hell of an athlete, but he won the second round. I just don't look at now maybe if you have the last 2 picks or 3 picks, and you're we could if New England said we need a tight end, even though they got Nkeel instead, I think he's gonna be a really solid guy coming out. But if they went Noah Fant, I'm like that makes sense.
Or
the back end.
maybe if you're a tight end away, we're not a tight end away. We could have just picked the best
you're
player.
running back away,
I don't think I've ever
several
heard that.
receivers
Tight end away from
away.
winning the Super Bowl.
I don't think
that's-
anybody's
that's
a tight
upcoming,
end
though.
away.
The Patriots, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true,
So
yeah.
I'm in a 16-team league, and I can guarantee you Gronk is going to get drafted. And somebody's going to
That's
take
crazy.
him. Somebody's going to take him in the 15th or 16th round. I guarantee
Most
it.
wins in 1-score games. Dallas
Yeah,
was
so they're
right there.
so they're saying that Dallas is, if you believe in the whole, I don't know if you believe in it. It's actually science and math. One of those two. Regression to the mean. So if you're 9-3 in 1-score games, that means next year you're likely to go 3-9
Yeah.
or somewhere in the middle. So whatever you were last year, your record's going to go down. Because it's funny that you see one-score games 9-3. That means 12 of the games out of 16 were one-score games, which is like every NFL game.
Yeah, exactly. The NFL doesn't have a lot of these double-digit it's not college football.
Right.
You know, it's professional at the end of the day. These guys are out there, and you also have garbage time that takes away from some of those.
And
some of those could be double.
Every time I used to take the Browns plus 13.5, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'll be the smart, wise guy, and I'm taking the Browns plus 13.5. All the games are one-score games, not lose by 27.
Yeah.
Dan's watching. He's like, you bet on the Browns? I'm like, they were getting 13.5. It's the smart play. Oh, they're still playing the Patriots. It could have been 27.5. I still would have lost.
So we're going 2 Dallas, 1. I'm guessing you're taking Philly in this division.
I think I'm going to go with the Giants.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you know what? You're going to take that back. We're replaying this, and somehow the Giants do figure it out. Daniel Jones comes out dealing.
All right, so one other thing we can talk about in that division, and maybe Stretch can weigh in on this too. How many games before Eli is done?
Before Daniel Jones steps in?
Yeah, how many games? I have to look at their schedule of what their record's going to be. I would assume it's 0 and whatever. Stretch, who's the best receiver on the Giants right now?
Sterling Sharp.
No, he's hurt.
He's hurt now?
Shepard, yeah,
Sterling
Shepard.
He broke
Shepard.
Sterling
Fractured.
Sterling Shepard fractured his thumb, and then another guy tore his ACL or something.
And then you have Golden Tate, 4 game suspension.
Who is that tight end? Ingram?
Evan Ingram.
He's probably.
I like Evan
He's a
Ingram.
decent
He's good.
receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I might pick him up on fantasy now because somebody's got to catch the
He can't
passes.
block worth a damn, but he's a great receiving
I don't want
tight
my
end.
tight ends to block.
Yeah, he's effectively a wide receiver.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's one of those just bigger wide receivers.
Unless it comes to franchise tag time, and then he's definitely a tight end.
Oh, don't believe that. Ask Jimmy Graham about that one.
He got screwed.
Got 90 balls. You're a tight end. Relax.
He's a place kicker. You saw him kicking
Or how
practice
about what's his name? Jadavion Clowney gets the linebacker tag.
Yeah, I was telling Dan about the franchise tag thing
Put
earlier.
like 12 snaps at linebacker.
Like, why would you want to make that guy mad? It's like he's your best player, arguably on your team. Why are you gonna Jadavion? Just pay him the damn money.
Yeah,
There's some guys who you just pay. Just shut up and pay the guy. It's like, are you gonna contract negotiate with Aaron Donald, or are you just gonna pay him?
No.
Whatever you want. Here's an extra couple million. Just take it.
So as they did with Aaron Rodgers.
You want
the whole stadium? Just take it.
You want stock in the team? You want season tickets for life? Here you go. You're not going to try to negotiate with Aaron Rodgers. Like, just give Jadavion Clowney
Am I not your entire team?
Well,
Thank you.
Clearly, they negotiate a coaching change because they got the offensive coordinator from Tennessee. Like, when I think of an offensive mind, Tennessee didn't really stick out to me whatsoever. I was like, wow, man, you guys went with that.
Yeah, they have Matt LaFleur, who was on which coaching staff? He came from somewhere, which obviously came from somewhere, but
just appear.
Well, I'll think about
Aaron's
that.
friend. Well, he was a Tennessee OC last year, and then I'm trying to remember where he came from before that. But he was under that unit, and he just, I don't know, that we went over them last week.
I'm going to pick the Eagles, but I also don't think it's like a resounding, like, it's not like the Patriots, it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like whatever you give me, I might just, if I was to bet on it, I might just take the Cowboys just because I don't think it's, just because of the odds. Yeah. If you gave me like plus 150, I might just take the Cowboys just because I don't think it's a guarantee.
I think one goes 10-6, the other goes 11-5. To be honest with you,
It can be either one.
Carson Wentz gets hurt, the Cowboys can easily win it. It's just, I mean, everything's an injury
Which could
away.
easily happen. That would change everything if Carson Wentz gets hurt.
But I do think that
they don't have Nick Foles back
the
there.
Cowboys would be less worse, less bad. I think the Cowboys would be in a better situation if Dak got hurt than if the Eagles lost Carson Wentz. I don't know.
Do you know who the backup in Dallas
Cooper
is?
Rush. I don't know about Cooper Rush.
Have you ever heard of Cooper Rush?
Because I live with you, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the only reason.
Dan's in the kitchen watching like the fourth quarter of a preseason Cowboys game.
I do the same.
He's like, you see this Cooper Rush? I'm like, yeah, I got the fourth quarter +2 for the Cowboys. I'm like, you got it on? He's like, yeah, I bet on it.
That's awesome.
I mean, like I said, I think one goes 11-5, the other goes 10-6. Both will win 10+ games, I think. Still,
it's tough for two teams, so one of them's going to make the wild card then at least.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was last year.
So that's nuts. Yeah, so they could easily just both go to the playoffs.
I think both are going to the playoffs this year.
Like, they could play each other in the first round too.
Oh man, I was really hoping that we'd see each other in the NFC Championship last year. To be honest with you, that's what I was really pulling for.
Is that possible?
Well, it was last year. If they would have beaten the Saints, we would have beaten the Rams.
Because one team would have to be like 1 or 2, and then the other team would have to be a wild card. I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
It's not likely, but it's possible.
It's tough. For like, we see a team 3 times. It's weird. It's different to see a team 3 times in a year. It doesn't happen a lot.
I don't see either team. I will say this: I don't see either team being the 1 or the 2 seed.
Ooh, I do, and
Cowboys?
You think
one of those 2 teams I think can represent the Super Bowl for the NFC this year.
No, I'm not saying that they can't make it. I'm just saying I don't see them being
the 1 or
like
2
the
seed
1
for
or
the
2.
playoffs?
You know, I like the Saints. I like
the
Falcons,
Rams, the Saints.
I
like the Packers. I really like the Bears. I like the Vikings.
Really like the Packers?
I mean, they have Aaron Rodgers, right? Last time I
What?
checked.
doesn't have to last
I
year.
guess they always have a
Minnesota's
shot.
still
He was
in
But
hurt. He was hurt though. I like Minnesota.
the
like
Bears
I said.
aren't bad. Even
I
though
like-
the other Jordan Howard list.
Pretty
but-
much everybody in the Lions division except the Lions I like.
So pretty much everybody with the Lions you like?
Yeah, that's it. That clip of the week. Yeah, it's just. I mean, but I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't think it's very likely that the Cowboys or the Eagles are.
I'm really just happy when they make, because like the Giants have proved, it doesn't matter. You can go in as a low seed, like a wild card team, and win the Super Bowl.
That's like.
So
the,
I'd just be happy, just get in, just get
that's
in.
like the exception to the rule, though. That's not like.
That's not
how you want it.
it's not the
their defense
rule.
did turn on
Yeah.
both those runs in that playoff.
You don't want to be Seattle, who's what was it, 7-9, and then they go in and win that game. Well, yeah, which is always held up as like the thing where they should change it.
And I don't agree with that because
No.
I do believe
And
winning your
that-
division
it
is
never
important.
happens, yeah.
It should be that, like, I think college football should take that more, like, should take it more serious. Is winning your conference, winning your division should be a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's your division. You see those teams.
Getting
Sorry
all
that it's
warmed
not.
up.
That's your primary That's your primary objective all year.
Exactly,
Is
like-
to win your division.
Like when Penn
That
State.
gets you a guaranteed seed in the playoffs.
When
so.
Penn State won the Big Ten and they didn't get in, and when Ohio State won the Big Ten, they didn't get in. But those years, it was like, okay, that makes no sense. So, like, is there any, like, realm to winning the Big Ten then, really? Because the Big Ten is a very, very respectful conference. In my opinion, it's one of the most respectful conferences right now because they're very
Yeah,
deep.
I'm
Up
not
and
a
down.
college football expert. That always is so weird to me. Like how they make up opponents in bowl games. Like they just vote. So like exactly what you're saying. Like does beating teams in your conference not mean anything if it's just going down to a vote?
You realize how dumb the system is, which is not nearly as bad as the BCS was.
Jesus Christ.
But when you explain it to somebody who doesn't watch college football,
they look
and you say it out loud, you realize how stupid it is.
Oh, dude.
So it's like
Only 4 teams. We
just vote.
So if you lose the first game, it's different than if you lose in the last game.
Yeah.
It matters more because you climb back up the rankings, and this doesn't really matter, but this game does matter.
It's just
It's like-
arbitrary rankings.
But if you lose
and
3
voting.
games the year before, you can still be a top 10 team.
And
Florida.
if you start in the top 10, then you're likely to stay in the top 10. You're not going to drop.
Or if you go undefeated, you're not really a champion.
Let's not get into the whole UCF thing. Give me a fucking break. Play somebody. How about that? Ooh. How about that? I'm turning into 2 guys.
I don't know no better.
No, but it's like in college football, it's like, oh, you could be Alabama. You can schedule like Alabama State, Alabama Southern, Alabama
my
Tech,
God.
and those are your
cupcake schedules
those are your
that come out.
those are your 3 out of conference games. And then, granted, you play a tough conference schedule, but you also get rewarded for playing that schedule. Like,
it's
you
like-
get the benefit of the doubt.
We're talking this year, so like, perfect way to go into the ACC now. We're talking. I think we're kind of like. I think the most winnable conference the easiest conference for a team to win right now is the ACC, and it's gonna be Clemson. I think Miami's the biggest threat when it comes to that.
It's kind of similar because I broke it up as far as divisions, the Coastal and the Atlantic. When we talked about the AFC East, NFC East, I think is there any way that Clemson doesn't win the Atlantic? I mean,
if Trevor Lawrence maybe got hurt, but then I don't know there because they have another. Like, their recruiting class is unbelievably loaded. Dabo's controlled the ACC
If you
right
go
now.
if you go through the recruiting class, like I'm even looking towards next year just because I'm a weirdo, but it's just paw print. I'm like, God, Clemson, what the fuck?
It's either
Like,
paw print,
they have
Alabama,
they must
or
have
A&M.
strippers there or something.
Yeah.
Like they're getting everybody.
Literally between the 3 teams right now is Alabama, A&M, and Clemson. And it's like really those 3 teams are controlling the recruiting classes. What it's looking like coming into
Yeah,
now.
it was weird. A&M had the biggest attendance for any spring game. I'm like, I understand that they have
Jimbo
like,
used to do that at Florida State
they
too.
have, well, they have a strong booster presence and they have like good fans, but A&M is the biggest spring game. It's like,
It's
all right.
You add Jimbo Fisher, man, and it's like now we're in the ACC. We can talk about we can talk about FSU and where they're going to be at. Did you see their little thing of how many you saw a little? There's a thing that said how many games were left, and it said there's like how many days are left to the football season. A guy wearing number 15 jersey and having a 4 on there It's not 15 or 4. And like the whole thing didn't make sense. That they had like a thing on Twitter today with FSU, how many days until kickoff or whatever.
Tell me FSU people are not that smart? I don't buy it.
What? How do you think they're finishing this year?
Man, that's really interesting. I mean, I always liked DeAndre Francois, but he's not going to be the quarterback, right? It's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's not Francois anymore.
It's not Francois anymore. I always liked him, and then he got wrecked at the beginning of last season.
It's against Alabama, right? I think I watched it.
Yeah,
I barely watch football, and I watched that.
It was 2 years ago in Alabama where he tore his ACL.
College football, that is.
Yeah, he got
I
wrecked.
watched also.
I don't know. I'm trying to see if anybody is possible to beat Clemson. It's Boston College, who, I mean, they run some weird offense that's not.
I think Miami's the closest team with Manny Diaz over there.
Well, even going by conference, because Miami's on the other side. So you have Louisville. They're always decent. Florida State, I don't see it. You know who I do like? NC State. They had a really good defense last year.
NC State, NC State is known for upsetting people as well.
No, not even upsetting. They were like a top 10 team at one point last year. Like everyone's in the top 10 at some point.
I get that.
But if anyone's going to challenge Clemson in that conference and that side of the conference, I think NC State's a good pick. I don't think anyone will. Syracuse had this quarterback last year, and I'm far removed from college football, but they had a quarterback named something. I don't remember what his name was, but he was like a tough guy. It was Dungy. It was like Eric Dungy. It's coming back to me now.
Syracuse is very close to Clemson last year in the game as well. They put that one.
It's Clemson. I mean, we don't.
Yeah,
it's
like,
the same thing.
I
It's the same thing as AFC East. It's Clemson.
I think Clemson's gonna run away with that division pretty quick.
I think more interesting is the other side. I mean, it's so weird how all the talent is on one side. Because I mean, if you put NC State in Miami's division, or if you put Wake Forest or Louisville or FSU, it would be more interesting, I think. But I had Miami picked, but you could talk me into, like, I don't know.
Miami brought back a lot of talent once Diaz came in there. Once Diaz left,
yeah, there were guys who were going to transfer, and they wound up not transferring.
There were linebackers that they have some of one of the best defenses coming in again, and that's a big thing. That's really undertalked. And Manny Diaz, the players, I think this is the best hire they've had in a long time.
Since Mark Richt?
No, I hated Mark Richt. Hated Mark Richt. Hated Golden. Hated Shannon.
You hated Mark Richt? I thought Mark Richt was a good hire.
I hated Mark Richt.
Did you hate Mark Richt at the end or at the beginning?
No, in the beginning, because it just I was like, okay, so you're gonna get it. This is to me, Mark Richt fit the Miami profile of what they didn't want to be. Just good enough to be talked about, but not good enough to win. And that was Mark Richt at Georgia. He got ran by Urban Meyer against when he played them in Florida.
Miami is playing Florida, which
yes.
We can get into for sure. That's going to be an awesome game. I wish I would go. Chase, are you going to that game? You can go ahead and comment on here.
I'm going to that game. So
you're going to it? You already bought tickets?
Yes, I'm.
Because I was thinking about going, but that shit is expensive. How much were your tickets?
It was
a hefty sum.
118, I think it was.
Really?
Yeah, for one ticket. I mean, it's Campbell World Stadium. The stadium sucks. Like, that's a lot for that stadium.
Yeah, but the tickets are insane. Like 118 you're not going to find that now. I mean,
the longer you wait, it's going to price up. But it's like, these tickets are also going all over the place too. I mean, they got to fill out the stadium. I do believe that game is going to be already one of the better opening we've seen, because now Florida's not too scared to play Miami, which they usually are after they lose. They are, and history shows it. Get mad at me, UF fans, but every time Miami looks reasonly good, you don't want to play them. You just don't.
They should play every year. It's one of those things where they should play. It's the same thing with the UCF, the home and home with the Florida Gators. They should have done it. Like, UCF had a chance to, like, college football scheduling is really weird and like political, but UCF had a chance to play Florida in, but it wasn't a home and home. It was like they had to play at Florida both times or whatever.
2 at home, one Florida, 1 UCF, then 1 Florida game. It was a 3-game series, 2 at Florida.
And UCF said no. I'm like, who is UCF to say? I've already gone to this rant a bunch of times on this podcast, but who is UCF to say no to that kind of a game?
Especially when it's a potential top 10 team, because they're going to play them within the first 2 weeks. It's a top 10 team.
The exposure they would have gotten, even if they win one of those games, they're coming out ahead. They're going to be underdogs all 3 times. Look what they did. Look what UCF did in the basketball tournament this year. And then look what they do in college football. They're getting similar recruits to Florida. They just don't have the profile. If they beat Florida in any of those games, they immediately raise their profile within the state and in the country.
Because the big thing that everyone yells at UCF about is, you don't beat anybody. You beat Florida one time, all of a sudden that's on your resume. And it just puts because they're going to win their conference, and they should be able. Even though they are on, I don't know about this year because they are on a third-string quarterback now at this point.
Yeah,
because Matt got hurt, and of course McKenzie's hurt.
Yeah, McKenzie got hurt, and then the backup broke his ankle.
You have this bum from Notre Dame coming into play, which I'm really not excited to watch.
Everybody from Notre Dame is a bum. So.
Yes, dude. Notre Dame quarterbacks. Don't buy into Notre Dame quarterbacks. Not buying into it. Scared of what, Chase? Like every time, like UF is supposed to like play Miami when they're good, you don't.
He's a huge Gators fan. Too.
I can see that. But like that's like Florida be ready to play them when Miami's not that good, but Miami comes out ready to play. All of a sudden, it's like you take a break. Like when was it you guys beat last time you played him? Driscoll was quarterback. Was that the quarterback for Florida?
Jeff Driscoll. I don't remember. That was like 4 years ago, wasn't it?
No, because the Driscoll. I think.
Jesus, time passes fast.
Yeah, because he won like a
7 years ago. No, Chase is he's a big Gators fan, and
they got a good team though. Dan Mullen's got a very, very, very good.
As somebody who got their shit pushed in the bowl game, I can definitely attest that they have a good team.
I think this is going to be one of the best opening games because you have a really good Florida team. You have a Miami team that's going to be out there hungry, ready to play. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I think that, honestly, you're going to see this rivalry hopefully spark up some more, and you're going to see these guys want to play each other more. I think Dan Mullen, what he's going to do at Florida, like I said last week we talked about the SEC, there's a great chance, I think, not this year but next year, you could see an A&M and UF for the SEC championship. Just because, like I said, Mullen's done a very, very good job.
I mean, somebody's going to have to take out Alabama eventually, right?
Oh, I think it's Jimbo. And I think when Jimbo...
You're higher on Jimbo than I am. Why did Florida State, run him out of town then? Why did the boosters all hate him if he's such a good coach and he's going to do such a good job?
Because Florida State thinks they sell themselves. Why would you tell Jimbo Fisher no when he literally took the best recruits from Miami all the time? He grabbed Derwin James. He got Jalen Ramsey. He got Dalvin Cook. Jameis Winston, he took him from Alabama. Like he took Xavier Rhodes. He went out there every single year and was recruiting. And that's my biggest problem with Little Willie Taggart is Little Willie can't go out there. That's who he is to me, bro. Like I'm so tired of hearing FSU fans saying, "Oh, it's not his team." It's a better team than he's ever recruited in his whole life. He had 2 5-star running backs in Jaquez Patrick and Cam Akers.
Yeah, Akers had a down season. He's going to have a breakout season this year. Sure.
I don't know. Willie Taggart, I don't know, man. Like, can Willie really call an offense, or is he just living off of the Oregon train?
There's guys where the offense doesn't matter. Like, I was surprised Akers didn't have a better season last year.
Because you realize they struggled against, like, South Carolina State last year. Like, they were playing guys in the fourth quarter still.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's a game when you're a freshman, you're like, Mom, I finally got in. Like, that's a game where you get in for the first time.
Is me in high school?
It is, but, like, that's a game where the guys who don't play get to play. Like, that's a game everyone should be done by halftime. You should be like, all right, hey guys, Cam, you're done playing. Hey, you're done playing. Like,
it happens though. I mean, you look at Alabama last year against who was it? Middle Tennessee State or
yeah, but that was like by halftime. By the third quarter, they just beat.
Was it Citadel? Who was Alabama?
It was they had a game where the
Alabama
first couple
was tied
quarters,
with Citadel at halftime. Everyone's like, oh shit.
And then third quarter,
they blew them out.
Yeah, it was. I just look at FSU and everyone wants to make excuses. Really, no. Stop blaming Jimbo. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Jimbo screwed us over." No, the fact is, you let the FSU let Jimbo walk away because Jimbo saw Dabo's getting paid this. He's getting all the facilities he wants. He's getting everything he wants. Why can't I get what I want here? Like, Jimbo did everything to prove to Florida State. He won a national champion. He arguably has one of the greatest teams with that FSU team back in 2013. One of the best
The Jameis team?
Yeah, it was a fantastic group up and down with Kelvin Benjamin.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was...
They did win on the last play, though.
I'm with you on that one. Trey Mason ran all over them.
Yeah.
Then he ran from the FBI.
Like they were playing.
Oh my God.
You hear what Baker Mayfield, not to get off topic, but you hear what Baker Mayfield said. He said in one of those media days, so what did you learn in college? He's like, not to run from the cops. Fair enough. It's like, you would think one wouldn't need to learn that. It's just kind of something that's ingrained in you, but. Dabo is definitely better than Jimbo.
You can say that, but I don't know. This year, A&M almost beat Clemson.
Dabo's, to me, college football coaching is half coaching, half recruiting. It depends on what you put more stock into.
Well, they both put. There's no better quarterback guy than Jimbo Fisher.
Right, but if you look at recruiting, like what Dabo is doing right now is like even above what Alabama is doing.
Yeah, but there's, like I said,
they're not just good right now. With the recruits they're getting, they're going to be good for another 4 years.
But let's not act like Florida State wasn't running Clemson. Florida State beat the living hell out of Clemson when Clemson had Taj Boyd and they were ranked like 4th. And they went into Clemson, and the very first play of the game, they killed them. Dude, they were killing Clemson for a while.
Florida State hasn't been good since Jameis left, really.
I mean, they were. They were still. I don't know, because when they beat you guys and when they beat Michigan, they were a good team then, and that was a New Year's Six bowl.
Florida State?
Yeah, when Florida State beat you guys.
When was that?
That's when you guys had Jarrell Peppers.
Oh,
one of the most overrated
wow.
prospects I've seen.
My memory is fucked because I was at that game.
You were literally there.
That is the clip of the week. Ask my girlfriend, I love you, babe. I was at that game.
Oh, I was trying to say, you really pushed that out of your memory, man, because that was a good game.
No, it was.
That was a really good game.
I don't know if I told this story before. I got a guy kicked out, a Florida State fan kicked out of that game. We were arguing back and forth. I might have been like 15 beers deep, something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's why my memory is so hazy. But I was arguing with this guy 2 rows back from me, him and his friend, and we start arguing. And I'm like, "Hey, fuck you." He's like, "Fuck you." You know, some other words were exchanged. Like as the tempo of the game's going, it was like a Michigan down to punt, like in the 5-yard line. It was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." It's like it wasn't even a touchdown, or like it was a down punt in the 5-yard line. I was like, "Hey, fuck you." I brought up the whole Florida.
A lot of 4-letter words there.
I brought up the Florida State kicker that got drafted in like the. I brought up Roberto Aguayo. I was like, "Your kicker's a bust."
Who gets a kicker in the second round?
It was
though?
the Bucks, and it was a bunch of Michigan fans around me, and security came up and they backed me up and they kicked this guy out of the stadium in the first quarter. These tickets.
God.
Those are
I was talking about the tickets for the Florida and UM game. These tickets were like $300 a piece. And it's so funny. I was like, when did Florida State play Michigan? I was like,
When I was there.
When I was there, yes. And the beers were $10. The tickets were like 100, however many hundred. I spent $100 in beers.
I've had 8 beers at a Dallas Washington game in Dallas. 8 beers turns out to be like $65.
They were $10 a piece. They were $10 a
You
piece.
had to do a couple shotguns of something aggressive before you go into the stadium. Get a good hard pre-buzz.
They were
and then get in
$10
there.
a piece, and I bought 10 of them.
I always say 3 Y-bombs gets the job done. You have 3 Y-bombs, you're good to go.
I was doing it every time the guy walked by, because I don't want to go to the concession stand. Every time, if you need one or not, just sandbag him. It's like, come on.
I had him under my seat.
That's another thing we can't forget.
I'd have like 2 already, and I'd be like, hey.
Jimbo Fisher won 29 straight games. We cannot forget that.
Beer? His beard?
Oh, I like my beer.
Whose beard?
Got some fans, I like it.
No, but that was fucking hilarious. Like, when did Florida State play Michigan? Oh, the game that I went to.
Jimbo won 29 straight games. Like, before the issues with Jimbo.
Right, but that was during the Jameis Winston era.
I get that, but you still had to. Like, this man was coaching guys to win. This man was winning 10, 11 games with people like Ponder. Like, I mean, this guy was going out there and just.
What does it say?
He's going out there winning. I get like Dabo's
Tried to get a
hotter
beer,
now,
but my
but
girlfriend told
also
me
let's not
I
forget
get a
Jimbo is
beer.
bringing A&M to being a respectful team to a whole new like. He's gonna give him another year at A&M, and
Holy shit, that's
A&M's
pretty
already
funny.
better than Florida State. I mean, A&M's already better than Florida State. Like, I mean, you can just watch the.
No, yeah, but Florida State has been down. I mean,
I'll take that as a
Yeah, but
compliment, Chase.
nine wins. Like that was the first time they finished. Like his last year over
look
there
like
was
Andrew
rough.
Luck,
Like his
apparently.
last year over there was rough because he was just done with the group, and everyone's mad the way Jimbo handled it. But here's my big thing to people: stop with the moral BS with all this. When you start paying these coaches $75 million, morality's out of it. You're gone. The morals are gone. That nobody cares. It's no longer a pure sport. $1 million contracts with the coaches. He's getting $7.5 a year. His incentives, if he wins a natty over an A&M, jumps over $90 million. Like it's like he's got a huge incentive-based contract over there.
College coach contracts are weird. It's like Saban, which rightfully so, but he has some clause in his contract where it's like, and this is a thing Dan, in college football. It's weird when you explain it and say it out loud. It sounds weird. He has a clause in his contract where if anybody else ever gets a contract that pays him more than his contract, he automatically gets more than that.
What? That's the best contract of all time.
So if anybody else,
So you just perpetually are the highest paid for forever?
This is how weird college football is. The boosters in Tuscaloosa and Alabama paid for Nick Saban's house. So you can't give any money to the players, but these boosters are buying this guy's house.
That is a crime.
Which you can imagine.
That is evil as
It's not a
fuck.
cheap house.
I just I mean, Clemson, like I said, I think we all agree Clemson's going to win that division pretty quickly. I just think that hopefully it's the last year for Willie Taggart if he can't win over 7 games. Because Florida State fans, you guys really, as a fan base, it's time for you to wake up and realize that you just lost arguably a top 3 coach. And you brought in a coach that you're living off the Oregon coaching tree, and that's my problem.
You really hate Willie Taggart.
Because he's not a good coach. Like, I don't get it. Oh, he made USF decent.
You likes him as much as Jason Garrett?
Yeah, no, it's about around there. It's like,
Sears mannequin.
I was going to school in Tallahassee during that 29-game win streak, okay? So that's why I'm like, I was completely mind-boggled when people were like, oh, well, we don't need Jimbo for $7.5 million, but we'll give Willie $5.5 million. Like, what? You lost him for $2 million? You lost a top 3 coach for that?
Yeah.
What kind of idiotic fan base are you guys?
Well, the way I understand it is the boosters didn't like him, and pretty much boosters are a big part of Florida State.
Because they didn't want to spend the money.
I don't know if it was for me it was like he was turning recruits off, like, and as soon as you start losing the recruiting base, like he kind of like lost that whole thing, and people didn't like what he was doing, and the boosters just ran him out of town.
It's because he didn't want to recruit as hard if he wasn't getting what he wanted. Like, he wanted SEC facilities, which, hate to say it, he was out there running an SEC program damn near when it came to like winning 10 games a year consistently. Like, you may not win the national championship every year, but if you're winning 9, 10 games a year, you're a very good coach. And when you're going out there beating Clemson year after year, and then you're going out there, even with this rough team, he lost to Clemson with a holding call.
Right.
Like, and that's when Clemson went to the playoff and won a national championship. Like, he was always right there in those games. I get people are mad because he gave up on recruiting, but if you're boosters who believe that, oh, Florida State's going to sell, because they've only had like 2 coaches. So it's like they don't believe that they need to spend all this money, but you have to. Like, I get, they didn't want to spend the money on this, they didn't want to renovate this, they didn't want to help with that. So if you're not going to do that, go to A&M. Where in Texas, they'll pay for whatever for a national championship.
Yeah.
The state of Texas, hell, he could have gone to Art Briles. If he didn't have those issues he was having, he'd still be a Baylor making big money. I mean, I just think that when you really
stretch.
Art Briles is actually a high school coach right now.
I know, yeah. DJ Durkin got hired by the Falcons.
Really?
Yeah, he murdered a kid at Maryland.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know,
he did, yeah.
That's kind of reckless. I don't think it was murder, but a kid died under his watch. But anyways, transition.
That's still ACC.
It's still ACC talk. Yeah, you're right. DJ Durkin, he's on the Falcons now. So yeah, Clemson, and then I'm picking Miami just by virtue of I don't really like Duke, Georgia Tech.
No, I'm picking Miami to represent the other side,
Georgia Tech runs an offense that I still have no fucking earthly idea how Calvin Johnson ever went there. North Carolina, I mean Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech is. I don't know how they're ranked right now. I saw one they were ranked like 21. And everybody transferred out of there. They suck.
Because they find a way to win against other ACC teams.
It's a tough place to play, but like they lost a bunch of guys. Once people start like the whole thing with Michigan, when the recruiting is one thing. Once people start transferring away from your program, or you start losing in-state recruits to other teams, that's when you have to start worrying. And Virginia Tech lost a lot of people, but I would say it's probably going to wind up being Miami, Clemson. And Miami right now doesn't even know who their quarterback's going to be. And they have 3 guys, Tate Martell, Jaron Williams, and Kosi Perry.
I think it'd be Tate. I think it's Martell.
He learned how to be a piece of shit from Ohio State.
You think you're just going to let that
come on.
normal talk?
If Tate Martell somehow was able to play at Michigan, you'd be like, you know what? I like me some Tate Martell.
It's a different story.
See, there we go.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I hated Terrell Owens until he was a Cowboy.
I told the story 7 million times on this podcast. I stayed home from high school. I skipped. I didn't stay home. I wasn't sick. I skipped school, and this is before phones were a thing. I went to the public library to refresh on the computer for recruiting, and I wanted to see Terrell Pryor commit because I thought he was going to commit to Michigan. Not only did he not commit that day, so I skipped school for no reason, but he waited a month later, and then he committed to Ohio State.
Damn, cold.
You didn't miss too much with him, though. In all reality, you didn't. Like,
Didn't they win a chip with him?
No.
Whatever.
No, they were.
I was probably at one of those games, I'm sure. I just don't remember.
Is he still a wide receiver?
Actually, I think.
He's bouncing around somewhere. I mean,
he was like on the Browns or something like that.
Last I saw he was on the.
I gotta see
last I saw he was on the Raiders. You might be right. He might be on the Browns or something.
I don't know.
So I think you're going to Miami, right?
Yeah, I'm going Miami to represent the other side. But they're going to lose to Clemson.
We're going Clemson.
Yeah.
But Miami could be interesting if any of those 3 quarterbacks winds up being good, because like they have talent, but
Their defense is really solid.
Clemson is so everyone. Alabama is just like the more well-known team. Clemson just won the championship
Decisively.
and they have a number 1 recruiting class, and Clemson is like the new Alabama. They're passing Alabama by, not by a ton or anything like that, but like it would be like when we talk about the SEC, we're picking Alabama easily. But Alabama's going to have a tougher time winning.
I think
the SEC
Alabama will have a tougher time than Clemson will have.
Yeah. There's much better teams in the SEC than Clemson has to face. I mean,
exactly. Yes.
We're talking about a team, Miami, who doesn't even know who their quarterback's going to be. And we're talking about a team in Clemson with one of the best coaches, recruiting classes, defenses, and a quarterback who's going to go number 1 overall.
Yeah, he's.
Did you want to do? We got through the NFC East.
It's on the Jags.
Terrell Pryor's on the Jags.
Yeah.
Did you want to do anything on the baseball trade deadline? The only thing, I didn't really prepare for that as much.
I will say, if Madison Bumgarner and the Astro rumors are true, that team it can beat New York right now. Yes.
So can we start watching again?
Well, yeah, no. If Madison Bumgarner goes to the Astros,
then we can start watching baseball.
I'll be very honest with you. Madison Bumgarner goes to the Astros, I'll be very shocked the Astros don't somehow win the World Series.
I'll be honest, as a Tigers fan, I kind of checked the fuck out.
Well, not because of my comment.
No, before that. Maybe because of the fact that we're 30 games, we're almost more games under 500 than we've won.
Well, as a Yankee fan, I don't want us selling our big prospects for someone like a Bauer or a Syndergaard or even a Bumgarner. Like, I get the need for starting pitching, but you run a 4-man rotation. We need to bet on Sevy coming back, and we just need to extend the bullpen run on a longer bullpen if we need to.
Is it better for Trevor Bauer if he autographs the ball before he throws it out there?
I would see if he did that. He has an argument like, yo, I just gave out something. Like,
I got the Trevor Bauer ball.
Yeah, like
if he autographs it first, is it better?
If Trevor Bauer goes to New York and he can't handle pitching in Cleveland, where really it's gonna be like it's gonna be tough to handle New York, because if you give up a home run there, what's he gonna do? Just start throwing the ball all over the place in New York? I really don't want to see New York sell out Florial, Garcia, Frazier, and Andujar for these pitchers, and I hate to say it, it's like those are 4, like Florial, big center field prospect. Garcia, huge starting pitching prospect a lot of people will want. Andujar, shown he can hit pro pitching at 21. Frazier can hit pro pitching at 22.
I'll take your word for it.
Why would you want to get rid of these guys when, I get the need to win right now, but at the same time, just extend the bullpen. Go after someone like a Shane Green to where he can give you 2 innings. Go after someone don't go after a Robbie Ray. Bumgarner's
who also
a rental.
used to be on the Tigers.
Yes.
Every pitcher in the league used to be on the Tigers. I swear. Did I say this? Did I say this on the podcast or before? I'm like, when you're a seller in the MLB trade deadline, it's like every other team is like a vulture circling around your carcass. It's like when you're a seller in the MLB trade deadline, it's like every other team is like a vulture circling around your carcass. Like, what do you got there? I'll take that Shane Green. I like that Fulmer there. He's like, get away from us, please. Let me keep my players. We ain't got much, but we got this.
I still don't understand the Mets with getting Stroman, because when you say we're going to deal Wheeler and we're going to deal Syndergaard by the 31st, but then you go out and get rid of, like you said, the prospects, you get rid of for Stroman, it's like, what's the objective?
They're third and they're only 5 games out, which is not out of it by any means, but they're also the Mets. So they get rid of their 3rd and their 6th best prospect for Stroman, who, by all accounts, is one of the best ground ball pitchers, but it sounds good until you learn that the Mets have the worst infield defense in the league.
And on top of it, and I guess Stroman is having a good year, but it's not like Stroman's known for having these consistent good years either. It's like, it's a good year, it's a whatever year, it's a hurt. It's a good year, it's a whatever year, it gets hurt. Like, that's kind of where his trend's been. I just don't look at Stroman and think, like you said, you get rid of your future for it. Baseball, you don't pay guys anymore. Free agents kind of prove that you don't really want to go out there and pay. I mean, with Machado and Harper not making the All-Star game, you're looking at like, okay, do you really want to pay these $30 million contracts when you have guys that struggle to hit over 250 now? Like, and when you have young talent at 21, 22, and their contracts are controlled for 6 years in baseball, do you really want to get rid of it right away for a Syndergaard? And the big thing I always say, it's tougher for guys to go to teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox, because the expectation in that locker room isn't. See, the Dodgers are. It's not like the Dodgers.
You think guys really pay attention to that? Like the expectations?
Yeah, because the fan base. Carl Crawford was a perennial All-Star. Goes to Boston, he forgot how to hit a baseball. I mean, Pablo Sandoval was one of the huge World Series guys. Goes to Boston. You know, Jacoby Ellsbury, MVP caliber guy, comes to New York, struggled a lot there. I mean, there's Randy Johnson could not pitch in New York, and we're talking about Randy Johnson's arguably the greatest lefty of all time. Like it's a different environment. It's New York and Boston, like their baseball teams. It's not like the Dodgers, where it's not saying the Dodgers. The Dodgers have been successful. If you're the Yankees, the Red Sox, and you lose 2 years in a row, there's going to be an immediate we're going to sell out now to get whoever we need to get.
Right.
The Dodgers really haven't taken that approach. They feel like okay, we can still keep doing this.
Yankees and Red Sox don't have rebuilding seasons.
Yes, it's one. Yeah, exactly. It's when you see especially when New York sees Boston win the World Series, just like if Boston sees New York win the World Series, the tension in the front office immediately rises. Like when New York lost to the Marlins back in '03, that's what made them make the big strong push for A-Rod in '04. And they made that huge deal.
That was one of the weirder World Series champions, those Marlins.
Honestly, a great Marlins team though.
You guys, the Yankees salvaged that the last game in that Red Sox series. Otherwise, Stretch would have had room to flex all over you.
Aaron Boone.
What did they outscore him 40-2 or some shit like that? It wasn't
crap.
2. It was 40-20. But it was the Red Sox scored 15 runs in 3 consecutive games. It was insane.
Yeah. Oh my God.
shit.
That's we have a 4-game series with them in a couple days. We got Arizona in the next 2, and then we'll have another 4-game in New York. So hopefully New York can take 3 out of 4 there and really try to extend the lead. 9 games above them. Tampa, I think, is going to start falling out because Blake Snell needs elbow surgery now. Blake Snell was a huge ace for them. I liked him a lot last year and thought he would be a great trade piece. But the big, I remember the Stroman talk for New York. They wanted Gleyber Torres. No, you don't get rid of like I said, you don't get rid of young guys.
Gleyber fucking Torres, 27 fucking rings.
You don't get rid of young guys that can't pro pitching. It's just for a year or 2 rental.
What do we want to do next week? We did NFC East.
We can do the
AFC,
North and the Big
North,
Ten. AFC North, NFC North.
Maybe save the Big Ten for last. No, we can do the Big Ten next week.
Well, if you want to do it, will you save that for last, man?
No, we can do the Big Ten next week.
I was just trying to stay within the regions.
Yeah, we'll do the North and then we'll do the Big Ten.
Because we're gonna have to combine the Big 12 and the Pac because the Pac.
We're gonna. I don't. Oh man, I'm getting excited for football. We're gonna need some time for that Big Ten though. I'm pretty sure.
I think next week may be one of our longer ones because both divisions are
pretty sure who I'm picking. I mean, tune in next week for a position by position breakdown of the Michigan Wolverines.
An entire episode.
And why they'll disappoint me yet again. Why I'll cry in a Smoky Bones bathroom. Next.
We could be talking about NFL or college football.
Next week will be a big one. AFC North very competitive up and down. NFC North competitive up and down. And then you got the Big Ten.
So thanks, Dan, for hanging out with us this week. Did you want to do any final Cowboys thoughts? Anything about the season? Any last words to get in there?
Oh, yeah. Jerry Jones, sign Zeke. Do it.
Any last thoughts for ACC, NFC East, AFC East?
No, but for baseball, we're still fucking savages in the box.
So we'll do...
greatest, one of my favorites.
So next week will be AFC North, NFC North, and then Big Ten. And then we can't forget about this one league. They're all not in the same league, which is Bundesliga. Thank you, guys.